Other interesting cultural news, you have Starbucks closing 7 locations in San Francisco and joining the trend of dozens of businesses leaving. Now, who could have guessed Starbucks would leave San Francisco? I mean, it's such a vibrant, great community, no crime or drugs, and great culture for sure. Oh, yeah, I could predict that, as well as anyone with a modicum of intelligence. Because San Francisco, perfect example of the cultural decay and you get what you vote for. California, brilliantly, the people decided. They voted for it. They literally said, one of the biggest examples being, I forget the prop number, but it used to be a felony in the state if you stole something up $950. You get the book thrown at you, as they might say on Law and Order. But the people decided, well, instead of that being a felony, we're going to knock it down. It's only a misdemeanor by now. So when it comes to the public courts, and the fastest thing to do for public with the courts is a plea deal. It's extremely common because you can get them done pretty quick. And in plea deals, they, quite literally what it says, they usually plead down to a lesser charge, giving the accused, or in this case more often not California, they're guilty, but nevertheless, it gives the person a more lenient sentence in return for them not having to spend months or years in the court system. So instead of starting at a felony, and they're putting it down to maybe misdemeanor, now it's starting at misdemeanor, and they're pleading down even more. Or more often than not, the district attorneys are just not prosecuting any crime at all. The Californian way, some might say. And San Francisco, their drug use, up and at 'em, as someone from the 1950s might say. It is using more drugs than you could possibly fathom. Their homeless problem is they have an army, seemingly, because they also, again, they voted for it. They don't want to have the police do anything. If they see tents or anything, or drugs or anything, they feel, let it be. And actually, it's actually in some cases illegal to step in and move them. Yes, as crazy as it sounds, that is the current state. And because theft is so rampant, pretty much every business is leaving. Because again, there's no incentive to stay. You're losing money. You're bleeding money. Famously, Nordstrom had a mob of about 20 gentlemen come in black hoodies, and they just took everything out of the store. They stole about $100,000 in merchandise. Now, maybe they're just trying to be nice because they knew this business is probably going to leave. Instead of this business having to pack everything up and, worry about the logistics and the insurance on it, we'll just take it all. Kidding, obviously. They're just morally and mentally vacuous people who want to steal and face no consequences. And more businesses are starting to realize this. Now, hilariously, the only business that has opened up a store in San Francisco in the past 48 months that I could find is IKEA. And perhaps, that is just because they know, perhaps if you're willing to steal something, you're too lazy to you're not going to put it together. Because IKEA, you have to buy the kit, then you have to go home and put it together. Or, interesting idea, perhaps IKEA has all the packages of the furniture and stuff, only half the parts are in there. So if they steal them, they get home, and they're like halfway through constructing something, and they can't finish it, so they have to go back and buy the rest. I'm kidding, the IKEA would never do that, but that'd be kind of hilarious prank or a troll to do on those perpetrators. But nevertheless, it looks like every business with a modicum of intelligence is leaving. Now, in terms of what businesses are leaving San Francisco, Nordstrom, C2B, Anthropologie, Whole Foods, Old Navy, Saks Off 5th, Office Depot, Athletic, Abercrombie & Fitch, Disney, Marshalls, H&M, Gap. They've all either closed their stores within San Francisco city limits or announced plans to leave. And that list, it's only going to get longer. Now, in terms of Starbucks being traditionally more left-leaning, politically speaking, well, they're not going to come out and say, yes, because your city is mentally and morally vacuous. Your crime is out of control and you're doing nothing to stop it. They can't say that because then people would maybe boycott them. So they're very political with their statements, to say the least. Now, their statement specifically, a Starbucks person, they noted, quote, each year, as a standard course of business, we evaluate the store portfolio to determine where we can best meet our community and customers' needs, unquote. Which is a very nice way of saying, yeah. Although it is actually a very apt business analysis, what customers are left? If most everyone will just steal everything in San Francisco, how many paying customers are there? 3? maybe 4. Maybe. Now, they continue to say, quote, this includes opening new locations, identifying stores in need of investment or renovation, exploring locations where alternative format is needed, and, in some instances, reevaluating our footprint, unquote. Yes, they are certainly reevaluating their footprint, to say the least. They're not just taking one store out of San Francisco and getting the hell out. They're closing 7. This is Starbucks. They have more locations than you could possibly fathom. What name of business has more locations than Starbucks? Maybe McDonald's in some instances? Maybe 7-Eleven? Which begs a question for the... Let me know in the comments. Would you like an ADHD question of the day? Now I'm curious. How many Starbucks locations are there in the world? I'm going to guess 78,000. Way off? No, okay. They have 35,711 stores at Starbucks. Now I'm curious about the 7-Eleven. I think 7-Eleven is closer to the 80. Yep, 7-Eleven is 78,029, although that is according to a statistic in 2021. But if you go to their website right now at 7-Eleven, they say they have 70,000 stores. So interesting. I guess, yeah, they win by a mile and a long shot. Yeah, so Starbucks currently has 35,711 stores. And they're deciding, yeah, we're going to get out. Now, how many stores do you think are getting vandalized in San Francisco? 5%, 10%? Oh, way more. It's a great example of how a city can be a winner and a loser at the same time. They win this award hands down. In a recent survey, they showed that 97% of San Francisco restaurants have experienced graffiti or property crime in the past month. That's an unprecedented percentage of damage. Now, it looks like in terms of the city's office vacancy rate, it looks like it stood around 30% as last month, while the population shrank by 40,000 residents. And yet, the culture of San Francisco persists. They're not changing. They're not changing the laws. They're not doing anything. They're embracing this. How many businesses can keep this city afloat? Right now, the biggest, most enterprise company I can think of is Salesforce. They are the largest, most successful customer relationship management platform on the planet, also known as a CRM. That's their biggest logo in the city that's left. Now, the CEO is a very politically active person. He loves the city. So I doubt he will ever relocate the company. But more and more companies are leaving. And more jobs are literally disappearing. From a cultural perspective, what will it take to actually turn the city around? Let me know in the comments, can it be saved? Will it become the next Detroit? Detroit at one time was the richest, most prosperous city on the planet. And then the culture shifted, the jobs shifted. A lot of there's many variables that led to the city's crumbling and demise. But there's a reason it's no longer what was the big three, GM, Ford, and Chrysler. Many would argue the UAW and the strike and the unions being an artificially high cost is a contributing factor. But will San Francisco become the next Detroit? How bad will it be before they turn it around? Do they want to turn it around? Because again, you need to attract businesses here. And I would argue in many cases you could turn any city around, but you do need a cultural fix. You need more police in terms of this situation. You need district attorneys to actually enforce the law. Because the police can arrest someone 7 days a week. But if the courts just let them go out and they don't prosecute anything, then what's the point? So it'll be interesting to see from a cultural perspective. It is a little surprising Starbucks, based on their political affiliations, they're leaving the city that is very much aligned with their values. Let me know in the comments. Could it be turned around? And if so, will it take months, years, decades? If ever. Let me know in the comments. It'll be fascinating to see what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. I really appreciate your support. Trying to get to 4,000 subscribers. So if you could take a minute and click that button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget, Topping Technologies is giving away a free 37mm AR-15 flare launcher with every $37,000 purchase or more. Go to toppingtechnologies.com to see additional details. Also, the feedback in the comments, I greatly appreciate it, even if it's harsh. I appreciate the critique to try to make the show better and better, including things that is starting to work on my enunciation, work on my stuttering. And if you can click that like button, also helps out the channel as well. Lastly, also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.